It was in the desert where Israel camped after escaping from Pharaoh that this happened. A princess named Cozbi from a nearby kingdom visited the camp in the middle of the night. And she wasn't alone. With her were 400 young ladies, each more beautiful than the next. And the purpose of their visit was pure evil. These ladies were spies sent by the kings of Moab and Midian to seduce the Israelites into sin, hoping to weaken them. Their plan was to use their beauty and charm to lead the Israelites astray, causing them to stray away from Yahweh, their God, and embrace the gods of Moab and Midian. Cozbi, the Moabite princess, was no ordinary woman. She was the daughter of the king of Moab and had been chosen by her people for a dangerous mission. You see, Moab and Midian wanted to get rid of Israel once and for all. They'd tried war, but Israel's God had saved them. Now they chose a different path, one that targeted the heart and soul of Israel, their faith. The Moabite and Median kings knew that if they could corrupt Israel morally, if they could cause them to abandon Yahweh, then they would have won without shedding a single drop of blood. And so they sent their most trusted agents, their daughters, into the Israelite camp under the cover of darkness. Among them was Cozbi, the Moabite princess, who was not only beautiful, but also intelligent, brave, and cunning. For many years she had trained for this very mission. She understood the strengths and weaknesses of Israel and knew how to exploit them. She also had a deep knowledge of the gods of Moab and Midian and was prepared to defend them with her life. As the women approached the Israelite camp, they carried with them gifts and offerings to Baal, the god of Moab and Midian. These gifts were designed to entice the Israelites, to tempt them away from Yahweh. The women themselves were adorned with ornaments and garments that symbolized the gods they represented. As they moved through the camp, they sang songs and danced in ways that were meant to be hypnotic and irresistible. The Israelites, exhausted from their journey and longing for comfort, were easily swayed by the charms of these women. Many of them had never seen such beauty before and were captivated by the women's grace and elegance. Others were drawn to the excitement of the forbidden, to the thrill of engaging in activities that were considered sinful. Before they knew it, many Israelites had fallen prey to the seduction. They abandoned their duties, neglected their families, and turned their backs on Yahweh. Instead, they embraced the gods of Moab and Midian and began to worship them with fervor. Cozbi watched this unfold with satisfaction. She had successfully completed the first part of her mission, but she knew that her work was not yet finished. She had to ensure that the Israelites remained under the influence of the gods of Moab and Midian, that they did not waver or turn back. To achieve this, she decided to use her position as a princess and as a woman to exert even more control over the Israelites. She married Zimri, the leader of a group of Israelites who had embraced the gods of Moab and Midian. The wedding was a lavish affair, a celebration of the union between two different cultures and two different religions. But behind the scenes, Cozbi was plotting her next move. She knew that the Israelites were still loyal to Yahweh, that they had not completely abandoned their old faith. She also knew that there were some Israelites who were unhappy with the changes that had taken place in their society, who yearned for the days when they worshipped Yahweh freely. So Cozbi decided to use her status as a princess to manipulate the Israelites, to force them to choose between their old faith and their newfound pleasures. She openly mocked Yahweh, his laws and his prophets, and encouraged the Israelites to do the same. She threw grand feasts and parties in honor of the gods of Moab and Midian, and invited the Israelites to participate. And whenever an Israelite refused, she punished them, sometimes severely. This went on for some time, and it seemed as though Cozbi had won. The Israelites were divided, and it looked as though their society would collapse into chaos and destruction. But then something unexpected happened. In the midst of all this turmoil, a priest named Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the brother of Moses, noticed that the situation was spiraling out of control. He saw the Israelites abandoning their faith, their families, and their traditions, and he knew that something had to be done. Phinehas was a man of great courage and determination. He was not afraid to speak out against evil, even when it was popular, and he was willing to sacrifice anything to protect the honor of Yahweh. So Phinehas gathered a small group of loyal Israelites and confronted Cozbi and Zimri. He accused them of leading the people astray, of causing them to abandon Yahweh, and demanded that they repent and make things right. But Cozbi and Zimri refused to listen. They thought that they had won, that they could continue to mock Yahweh and his followers without consequence. That's when Phinehas took matters into his own hands. He rushed into Zimri's tent and killed him with the point of his sword. Then he turned to Cozbi, who was watching in horror, and killed her too. The Israelites were shocked by what they saw, but also inspired by Phinehas's courage and conviction. They realized that they had strayed too far, that they had abandoned their faith in Yahweh, and they needed to return to him. And so the Israelites repented. They abandoned the gods of Moab and Midian and returned to Yahweh. They celebrated Phinehas as a hero and honored him for his bravery and loyalty. The plague that had been sent by Yahweh as punishment for the Israelites' sins was lifted, and the people were able to continue their journey to the promised land. From then on, Phinehas was known as the man who stopped the plague, the one who had the courage to confront evil and stand up for what was right. His story became a legend, passed down through generations of Israelites, a reminder of the importance of faith, courage, and conviction. Cozbi's story, however, was seen as a cautionary tale, a warning to future generations about the dangers of compromise, the subtle ways in which sin can infiltrate God's people, and the devastating consequences that can follow. Her actions were held up as an example of what not to do, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming temptation, one must remain steadfast in their faith. Over time, the memory of Cozbi faded from the minds of most Israelites. She became nothing more than a footnote in their history books, a mere blip in their long and winding journey. Yet some say that every time Israel stumbled in their faith, every time they veered too close to the teachings of Baal, the spirit of Cozbi could be felt a specter haunting their path, a reminder of the price of compromise. So what do you think about the character of Cozbi? Do you think she was a tragic figure, a victim of circumstance, or was she truly evil? A master manipulator who brought ruin upon herself and others? I think she was simply a person trying to find their place in the world and perhaps got lost along the way. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this retelling of the story of Cozbi, I think you'd also appreciate a video on another fascinating biblical figure, Jael. Like Cozbi, Jael is a woman whose actions had far-reaching consequences. In the story of Sisera and Jael, we see a different side of the battle between Israel and Canaan. Jael's story is one of courage, cunning, and unwavering resolve. Thank you for watching, and until next time, may you find wisdom, joy, and peace in the study of ancient history. Stay tuned for more tales of ancient figures who shaped the course of history.